am going to introduce our speaker today, Dr. James Pitarresi, who hopefully, he just told me how to say his name. I apologize, James. I say it wrong so often, but hopefully I got it right or close enough. Beautiful. All right. Dr. Pitarresi is the Distinguished Teaching Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Vice Provost and Executive Director of the Center for Teaching and Learning Learning and Teaching at Binghamton University, State University of New York. Dr. Pitarresi was a department chair for 11 years and has found himself in the provost office for almost 12, I believe it was, of the past years. He also currently chairs the Generative AI Advisory Board, very relevant to what he's going to be talking, extremely relevant to what he's going to be talking about today. So we're so excited to hear from his experience and knowledge there. And then last but not least, Dr. Pitarresi is also on the Faculty Advisory Board for Access Engineering from McGraw-Hill. All right, with that, please take it away.
Great. Well, thanks for that introduction. You left off, I was vice president of my 4th grade class, so I was hoping you would have included that.
Next time.
Next time. So we were playing around a little bit, and there is, oopsie. Do adults say oopsie? I'm sorry. We were playing around a little bit. I do have a video that I wanted to show. And of course, we can't get the audio to play over Zoom. 9 times out of 10 it works. Today it didn't, so we'll skip over most of that video. Welcome everybody. Let's jump right into it. And I'm happy to share these slides. May I suggest getting in touch through the McGraw-Hill email? I'll share the slides with McGraw-Hill, and if you get in touch with them, they'll send them out. Is that okay with my colleagues at McGraw-Hill?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're going to get a lot of emails, I think so. But I've learned a lot from other people, so I'm happy to share these slides. I think the best way we can move forward with this tool is to share what we've learned. So let's get right into it. This was Alchemy, our friends at Alchemy. If you get a chance, their link is down below. They have a YouTube channel. They run fantastic webinars on generative AI in education. They did a poll in the spring, about 330 something faculty, and they asked these questions. And what they found is about 2/3 of us are somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah, there are some experts at this, and then there are some that haven't even tried it yet. Most of us are somewhere in the middle, no big surprise there. And so this is geared for that middle audience. All right, so just quickly, large language models, that's the sort of generative AI we're talking about. There's a bunch of them out there. You might have heard of Claude or Gemini or Copilot. Llama is an open source large language model from Meta, the Facebook, Instagram people. And ChatGPT is the one I'm going to be using here today. It's the most common. And the GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. The key things it's trained. Well, what is it trained on? Huge data sets from the internet, machine learning algorithms, and some human interaction to tune the models, right? It uses this attention mechanism. A lot of really smart people doing research in this area. Hats off to them. These LLMs are truly powerful. And they're predictive. They're going to predict the next likely token, which could be a word or part of a word. So they're generative and predictive. So each prompt could generate a slightly different answer. And that's the key thing, prompt. So the interaction with these is through prompting, is through entering natural language, which is really powerful. And by the way, there are different types of generative models depending on what you want to do. If it's image generation, you're probably not using a large language model. You're going to be using something like a diffusion model. So if you're using MidJourney or Stable Diffusion, it's a different generative AI model. Okay, so where do LLMs get their data? From the internet mostly, right? So they get it from websites, but they also get it from books and journals and code repositories. But I mentioned, websites because most of it is Wikipedia and Reddit. And we all know if you go on Reddit, it can be useful, and then all of a sudden it's not very useful. However, all that gets swept in when these models were being built. Okay, so let's talk about course development, right? That's why we're here. Where do we spend our time? I put together a list of bullets there, right? You can look through it and probably, yeah, all or most. You might even have a few other bullets you'd add to that. But, the course, the topics, start put together the syllabus, what resources, books or online resources like Access Engineering, what learning approaches you want to use, practice exams, problems, right? ABET, right? Oh yeah, got to maybe tie in some ABET metrics, and what improves student learning, right? So both sides of this. Well, we know active student-centered learning is evidence-based. This is how we learn. Frequent formative assessments is another way that we learn. Connecting, right, the concepts to practice, very important. Yeah, and a bunch of other options there. Well, it turns out generative AI can help with everything I got on the screen and more. So let's take a look at some of these. So what I want to do today is just really explore this. How do we use ChatGPT as an assistant to design the course? Yeah, there are other tools out there. Um, Please experiment with them and play. Some are better at certain aspects than others. And other things like InVideo and Gamma are very specialized. Gamma develops PowerPoints, InVideo AI develops video. Of course, there are ethical and policy considerations, equity considerations. And then if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about AI assisted grading, AI tutoring, and making your own GPT. So I can tell you here at Binghamton University, we are piloting a couple of different AI tutoring platforms and approaches. We are about to launch a pilot of AI assisted academic advising. And we are also looking at, I fund teams of faculty and students to use ChatGPT to solve different types of problems, research and scholarship problems, teaching problems, and so forth. So it's been a lot of fun. All right, how do you use these things? Well, brainstorming, gamifying, analyzing, summarizing, these are just, some of the ways you can use these incredible tools, these platforms. It's really, it's every time, every day I find new uses for these tools. All right, so let us suppose, right, hypothetically, you are back in the days when I was chair. I come into your office. I said, hey, guess what? I need you to teach mechanics of materials, strength of materials course this semester. You're like, well, hold on there, Jimmy boy. I haven't taught that in a while. It's like, well, yeah, but too bad. I'm the boss, and I get to tell you, you need to teach that course. So what are you going to do? Well, okay, what are the learning objectives of the course? What are the topics that I want to cover? Yeah, it's a roughly 15-week semester. I want to build out a schedule. I'd like to tie the sections of the book or the learning materials with the weekly, lectures and so forth. Yeah, ABET, let's pull in a little bit of ABET and let's tweak that course description, right? And if you taught it a bunch of times, maybe this won't take that long. If you haven't taught it before, this could take some time, right? I mean, if it's a brand new course prep, this could take several days of concentrated effort, quite frankly, even longer. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a very simple approach, and I'm going to make some suggestions to make it even better. But this is a great way to start. And what I often, when I do workshops at other universities, including my own, if you're using it as the oracle, right, you want an answer. Who won the Stanley Cup in 1976? Google's your friend. You can just Google that, easy peasy. I think it's the Montreal Canadiens, by the way. But if you want to really develop an idea and have feedback, then I suggest this sort of approach or modification. So 4 parts to it. Tell ChatGPT who it is. What role is it playing? What are you asking it to do? Are there any requirements? And what is it you want when it's all done? Right. And so I stole this slide right from the folks at Alchemy. This is fantastic. I love this. So, you are an author and you want to do a book outline. See, I'm talking to McGraw-Hill folks here, and you want it, it's going to be of a certain length, and I want a concept map because I want to go to McGraw-Hill and say, look at this brilliant idea I have. So that's how you might navigate through this. Okay, so let's look at an example. As an expert in teaching mechanical engineering to undergraduate students, can you list the typical topics covered in a strength of materials course? Okay, so it kind of hits these points here, right? So that's a good starting point. But as they say on the television ads, but wait, there's more. When starting a project, I often insert one more additional important prompt. This is the secret sauce. Before we start, what clarifying questions do you have for me? I'm asking ChatGPT, hey, here's what I'm interested in. Do you have any questions? So I'm treating ChatGPT like an assistant, maybe my TA or something like that, or a colleague, right? Okay, so here's the new prompt, blah, 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 exact same prompt. Before you answer, right? It's like, hold on, ChatGPT, don't answer. Do you have any questions for me? Fantastic. Okay, so this is the interface. I'm doing screen grabs. Doing internet-based examples live is fraught with danger. Been there, have the t-shirt. So I did screen grabs and put it together. What you see down below here is the prompt that I just had in the text box, and I just added it right in. So, no big deal there. There it is. And oh, by the way, it does tell you, yeah, I sometimes make mistakes, right? So you're warned. Okay, this is the output. Okay, this is ChatGPT talking back to me, and I love this. It's like, sure, I can list the topics before we begin, just a couple of questions to ensure I tailor the information. So already we're not boiling the ocean to get our answer. We're telling it you're an expert in this thing, and what additional information do you need? Are there specific textbooks? Duh, of course there are, right? I'm going to use a textbook. I forgot to tell it that. And, are there particular areas that you emphasize? I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use Bear, Mechanics of Materials, right? Get the latest edition. I don't know. I think it's probably the 9th at this point. And I'd like a general list of topics. I'll look at the list and decide, right? So what do you suggest? So that box is my input to it. And then the white shaded boxes are its output back to me. So this is what it gave me. Like, boom, there it is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is actually pretty good. However, I teach shear and moment diagrams in statics. So I don't want it here. And energy methods, I don't cover anymore. We have an advanced class for that. So I had some more dialogue. Hey, ChatGPT, blah, 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 change this, do that. Not going to bring you through the details of that. But then I said, okay, once I got the topics I wanted, hey, my class meets 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for an hour. Can you draft a 15-week schedule for me? Oh, and put it in a table, right? So I'm giving it specific instructions. Boom. Wow. Okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, there it is. Now, this is a good draft. There are holidays in the semester. I'm going to want to have a couple of exams in there. So I got to tweak this. But, this is pretty good. This is a great starting point. And it's in a nice table that I can visualize. All right, now I have a tricky task for you. By the way, the use of commas and punctuation and certain words help draw attention, which can help focus these large language models for you. So tricky task for you. So I'm giving it a warning. Can you match the topics to the chapters and sections in the book? Yeah, let's see how you do. Actually did pretty good. That's not bad, right? Wow. So I, grabbed my copy of the book and I checked it and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty accurate. Well done. So I like it. Um, Very cool. Very cool. All right. I like the topics. So you're an expert in higher education pedagogy. Can you identify key learning objectives for this course? Use Bloom's revised taxonomy, put it in a grid, and avoid the use of understand as an action verb. I don't know. Some people use it, some don't. Revised taxonomy includes it. I came up through the system where understand was a difficult thing to measure directly on a student. So that's my pet peeve. But wait, I'm not done. You're also expert with ABET, and I give it all the information. So, could you align what's going on here with ABET? Not done. And put it in an MS Word file that I can download. Hit the button. This is what I get. This is from Word. I cut and paste from Word. And I'm pretty impressed. So I've got this, I got a draft of the schedule. I got learning objectives in here. These look pretty good. I mean, again, draft, right? ABET. Now it's a lower level course. I'm not going to go nuts collecting data here. I'm going to get the students used to, hey, ABET's important. This is what we're doing. I'll collect some data. But I'm pretty happy with this. Okay. And I want to go further here. As an expert in higher education, again, please review this table and develop a short course description. Yeah. Wow. It banged it out. Here's the course description. This course provides, blah, blah, blah. Course emphasizes application of all these different things. And like, yeah, that's pretty good. It's summarized the learning objectives, talked about ABET. Wow. I mean, that's not bad. That's really moving me forward. Okay. Here is if you go to Binghamton University's website, here is the actual course description of Introduction to Solid Mechanics. I wrote this probably 35 years ago, probably a bit longer. It's pretty dry. Look at that last sentence. Both theoretical development and applied problem solving, including analysis and design of problems, are emphasized. Yeah, I mean, it's accurate. It's not very interesting. So I put this in and said, hey, ChatGPT, can you rewrite this? And to make it a bit more interesting and appealing to undergraduate engineering students. Okay. I didn't really tell it what copywriter or what style. I probably could have, but here's what it came up with, right? Dive into the world of solid mechanics with ME211. This essential course expands your understanding, blah, 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 right? It's pretty cool. Last sentence, join us in ME211 and build a solid foundation for your engineering future. Yeah, it's a little corny, but I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Learn how to analyze and solve real world engineering challenges. Yeah, okay. I'm buying it. So oh yeah, by the way, this is less than 10 minutes, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think I spent between 5 and 6 minutes. Everything you've seen up to now, I did in about 5 or 6 minutes. Okay. It's a draft, but it's a darn good draft, and it's something I can tweak. Oh, by the way, ChatGPT can help me tweak it, but still, this is pretty impressive and how quickly it did this. All right, let's have a little fun. As a script writer, again, I'm giving it a role. Can you take this course description and develop a short video script? So what I want to do is set up the camera and introduce the course, right, to let students know what's going to happen in the course and so forth. So there it is. It wrote out a script, right? So the narrator is me. It suggested some opening scenes and everything. I thought, well, this is pretty cool. I'd have to edit this together. Maybe my video editing skills aren't that good. So I thought, well, could I use generative AI to make a video from the script? You know the answer. Yes, you can. Now, unfortunately, I'm just going to hit play here. I'll be listening to it, but this video was made by AI. Now, hopefully you can see the video. I paused it. That opening scene, that's Binghamton University. So I got to tell you, it put in a scene, and Lauren like this. It put in the scene of Cornell University, and I'm like, no, I'm 45 miles from Cornell. I'm in Binghamton, and it found this clip. Right? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So, anyways, it's got this. It put in. I'm scrubbing through it. It found these little clips and put them in to this, and I did it in video AI. So it did that. It made that video, and again, I'm blown away. Now, the narration's a little corny. I used a free version of the software. I can get rid of the watermarks and stuff like that. Okay, so pretty cool. It's given me a good head start. I'm a little bit, excited to use this tool, but I have a question. Who is this expert in higher education pedagogy? Who was that? Hey, ChatGPT, you're an expert? Who are you? Yeah, it's a good question. We know it's this, right? That's where it learned, right? Some dialogue data, so that could be transcripts from videos on YouTube, research publications, academic journals and papers, books. Yeah, where's the majority? Websites, right? Wikipedia and Reddit. So somebody goes on Reddit and says, I'm an expert in higher education pedagogy, and the best way to teach is to embarrass students when they make mistakes. ChatGPT doesn't know. It's not smart. It's doing a statistical analysis. Huh. But the results seem pretty good, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. But what if I could consult with an expert like Ken Bain, right? Best Teacher Institute. And what if I could get his feedback on my course description? So, and pick your favorite expert in higher education pedagogy. I picked on Ken just because I have his books. I don't know him. I don't know if he does consulting. If I emailed him, I don't know if he'd respond to me. And if I said, hey, would you mind doing this for me? He might do it. He might not. He might say, sign up for my workshop and I'll teach you how to do it yourself. I don't know. But this is a vetted source. Okay. So what if I told ChatGPT, hey, acting as Ken Bain, can you review the course description above, right? And give feedback? Yes, I can. Certainly. Stepping into the mindset of Ken Bain, here's how I might approach reviewing your mechanics of. It's like, wait a minute here. I'm chatting with a virtual Ken Bain from a large language model. So it's not quite Ken Bain, but it knows his work. And this is incredible. Focus on student understanding and inquiry. Promote active learning, right? Ownership, encourage growth mindset and curiosity, right? Emphasize lifelong learning. Oh my gosh, transfer of knowledge. And I'm reading through this and I'm like, this is incredible. I want this expert to tweak my course description. Wow. Okay. So Ken, air quotes, says, here's a possible revision, right? And I'm reading this and I'm like, this is really good, right? This, challenges students to ask deep questions and so on and so forth. So fantastic. Like I'm blown away by this, right? Again, pick your favorite expert in a topic, right? Hey, Ken, could you review my learning objectives, suggest some things? And Ken's like, sure, happy to do it. Went through each one of the learning objectives and gave me feedback based on the large language model's knowledge. I'm using that word loosely, information about Ken Bain and his work, right? So I've boiled the ocean down to Ken Bain and his work. And it's giving me some really exciting feedback. It's firing my curiosity. I want to dive into some of the evidence-based research on this. I'm going to talk to colleagues about this. This is exciting. Okay, And it continues some general suggestions, focus on inquiry and reflection, student agency. This is powerful stuff. I have, Ken sort of as my assistant helping me, right? So here's his suggested revised learning objectives. Yeah, wow. Critically evaluate failure theories and apply them to real world engineering applications, considering multiple solution trade-offs. Incredible. Um, design columns to prevent buckling, right? Iterate by, this is good stuff. So much better than the generic expert, right? So takeaway, leverage experts. They're probably available inside of the large language model. Okay, let's shift gears. Frequent formative assessments. Yeah, we know this is really how students get their hands on material, and it's formative, so you can get feedback on if they're doing things wrong. So there's the prompt, and you know the drill. I'm going to ask it to do this, right? And give it the information. Before we start, any questions for me? I don't think it's going to have any questions. This is pretty straightforward. Whoops, of course it has questions. I didn't tell it what difficulty level. I didn't tell it problem types. I didn't tell it, anything about the book or the format. Yeah, right. I assumed it just knew who I was and what I wanted. Of course it did. If you were working with your teaching assistant or a colleague and said, hey, go do this, they would probably say, well, what do you want? So yeah, duh, I should have answered those questions. Here you go. This is what I want. You know what I could? I could say, do you have any more questions? But let's move on. So, wow, it generated a bunch of questions. I mean, this is great. Hey, class, for homework this week, work on these. On Friday, we're going to go over it in class and see how you're doing, right? It's low stakes. It's really formative. Fantastic. Love it. So then this is actually from a book I wrote on solid mechanics. This is a picture with words and a figure. And I just copied and pasted the picture in the ChatGPT. It's not going to understand the graphic, but it figured out the words. And I said, hey, can you solve this problem? Yes, I can. It, from the picture, read the words, and there they are up on the screen, and it solved it. I was like, this looks good. Like, for me to type equations in MS Word, you can't pay me enough to type equations in MS Word. It's brutal. Yeah, it's the right answer. That's really cool. Okay, so hey, mechanical engineers, this is a problem for us. Everyone else, I apologize. It's a word problem. It involves gear reductions and a shaft and torsional stress. So here's a word problem. I'm loving ChatGPT. It's so good. Bangs out the answer. Oh my God, it looks fantastic. This looks beautiful. I love it. I'm going to copy and paste it. If I'm a student, I'm handing this in for homework. Yeah, I'm done. I'm going to go out and play. It's a beautiful sunny day. Uh-oh. That's wrong. It calculated the 1/3 root of that parenthetical expression incorrectly. But dang, it did it authoritatively, didn't it? Right? It was like, yeah, here you go. It's wrong. Go ahead, plug it in. It's wrong. I called it out. Hey, your approach is correct. However, you did not calculate the cubed root correctly, right? Please review your work and check your math. Oh, yeah, let's recalculate. It goes through very carefully, and dang, it gets it right this time. Huh. Interesting. Remember that thing about ChatGPT makes mistakes? Yeah, it makes mistakes. Great opportunity to talk with students about their reliance on these tools, the output they get from them. Great exercise for students, and tell them up front that, hey, here are some problems. There may be errors. Work through it using what you know and see if you get the answer they got, or do you get a different answer. Oh, by the way, those practice problems, those 10 problems? There were errors there. There were literally, if you did the math, in the multiple choice, and students love this. The correct answer wasn't one of the choices, right? So we all know how much students love that. So yeah, it's got mistakes. You can use them to help you. You can hopefully get it to correct things. Okay, here's one super quick here. Hey, I want to do a group-based learning activity. Week 10 was pressure vessels. It's like, yeah, here's a cool activity. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like this. I could take some time from class, do this, groups. This will be fun. Are there any noteworthy failures of pressure vessels? It gave me a whole bunch. I picked the Apollo 13 incident with the oxygen tank where they needed to stir it because it would get stratified, so they had to stir it every now and then, and there was a short circuit and it blew up, right? So fantastic. This is cool. And then they'll do some calculations on a pressure vessel. Most of them don't know about Apollo 13. Of course, I remember it. I remember being glued to the television. Jules Bergman, I think, was, raise your hand if you remember Jules Bergman. I think he was the science correspondent on ABC News or something. Anyways, fantastic, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Hey, I want to introduce this to the students. Could you put together 6 PowerPoint slides for me? Boom, there they are. It outlined. Now, it doesn't do PowerPoint slides, but it outlined everything. So this is fantastic. I can throw this into PowerPoint and I could go grab some images. But wait, there's more. So I used gamma.app, and it generated these 6 slides. All I did is dump the material in. It picked these images. Now, these are real images. I could have told it to generate images, but Apollo 13, space program, lots of images. So I went through and checked it and everything. It's like, yeah, this is cool. This is a quick introduction to the class. Hey, if you don't know Apollo 13, watch the movie with Tom Hanks. Here's what happened. Now, you're in teams. Let's go do this thing with pressure vessels. So pretty powerful. And don't even ask me how long that took. It was like, this whole process was probably, again, less than 5 minutes. Kind of scary. Okay. I uploaded notes from a class I did on steel design. I uploaded the notes from it. It was from about 10 years ago. And I said, hey, would you mind reviewing this to see if it's up to date? Yeah, because steel design codes, that stuff changes. And yeah, so it gave me some great feedback and it gave me some specific recommendations. So pretty powerful. I'm liking it. Okay, what about podcasts and transcripts? And I got about 10 more minutes. I definitely want to leave time for Q&A. One of the things I do when I'm working out, I like listening to podcasts. I teach courses in innovation and so forth. So I'll grab the transcript from a podcast, throw it in ChatGPT, and I can ask it for a summary. If I assign that podcast to my students, I can have it generate like little quiz questions, like an attendance question. Hey, give me 3 questions. If you listen to the podcast, they'll be easy to answer. Or I could give a more detailed sort of quiz on that as part of an assessment. So very powerful to be able to do that. So I went in and said, hey, could you recommend any YouTube videos, right? I teach innovation. I teach jobs to be done theory. It found a bunch of YouTube videos. Fantastic. I plan to assign a given video. And can you develop 10 questions based on the video? Absolutely, right? Had no problem coming up with 10 questions. Fantastic. Now, I want a rubric. 3-point. Can you build it? Yep. Gave me some information and put it in the table. Fantastic. So I assign the podcast to the students. I give them the rubric and, here's what I'm looking for. So it's very clear to the students what I'm after. I'm leveraging ChatGPT to help me with this. And there I go. I've got, an upfront way to assess what they're learning. Normally, this would take me like, after lunch, 45 minutes to put together a rubric because it's after lunch, right? So I'm tired. All right, AI assisted grading. Yeah, the promise is quick turnaround, feedback, right? The biggest complaint, one of the biggest complaints I get from students across campus is faculty don't give them feedback, don't grade their homeworks and tests in a timely manner, right? So that's the promise. This will do it. Opens up time for the high value interaction, the person to person stuff, and it encourages use of frequent formative assessments. That's the promise. The nightmare is, yeah, you might have to do a lot of training, lacks the nuances and judgment and so forth. Bias can be an issue, right? And it can be very superficial in its feedback. Folks at MIT, there's the link. They wrote a paper on this and talked about it. If you are going to do it, use anonymized students' work. You can do that in a variety of ways. You can, randomly assign students a number at the beginning of the semester, and then, and tell them don't put any personally identifiable information in their responses. Be upfront. If you're going to use generative AI for course development, for grading, for anything, tell the students, right? No, by the way, have a syllabus statement, right? What your policy is with it. So yeah, again, I gleaned this right from the MIT article. It's got strengths and weaknesses. I experimented with it last semester with pretty good success. I plan to do it again this fall, and students are excited to see how it goes. AI tutoring. So we launched 2 pilots. We are working with Cognify tutors on a very specific course. So you can check them out. And of course, Mingo, Sal Khan Academy. We are doing a large scale test. Mostly that's for first year students. It's math skills, some calculus, some chemistry type stuff. Lots of advantages and disadvantages there. I'll stay tuned to see how this works out. I mean, so far everyone's excited to use these platforms, but we'll see how they play out. Just real quick, you can build a custom GPT in ChatGPT. This was the screen 3 months ago when I built this particular one. Super, super easy to build. And you can put in your own custom instructions and custom data. You can tell it not to use that for training. So I built one based on a podcast that I listened to. I download the transcripts, load them in, and then it has that information. So anytime I want, I can go in and query, oh yeah, what are some of the common themes on jobs to be done with product development or something like that? And it'll give me a bunch of information, and I can drill in even deeper. So building custom GPTs, pretty exciting, definitely worth playing with. I mean, look, stuff's trained on the internet. Hop on Reddit, go down a couple of levels, and you're in the sewers, right? So you got to be careful here. There is bias. You need to be aware of the bias. The copyright issues are being litigated as we speak. So who knows how that's going to be developed. I think we need a lot more transparency and so forth on how these are developed. Students might object to them being used in class or if it's required for their use. So you have to have those conversations. There are equity issues and access issues. I'm using the paid version. I get access to the best. Not everyone can afford that. And so they don't get the advantage of all those tools. It would be nice if financial aid dollars could be used for educational tools. There are open source alternatives, right? Llama from Meta is open source. It comes in 3 sizes. I'm running the 70 billion parameter model on my desktop right here. It's not connected to the internet, and it's open source, so pretty powerful. Policy considerations. Get something in your syllabus about it. By the way, I do not believe in anti-ChatGPT detection software. I think it is an unreliable witness. We have Turnitin, and Turnitin has a module for detecting this. We have disabled that module. A, I'm not paying for it. B, it's not reliable. And if your only witness is some software that says it might be AI generated, good luck. In our litigious society, if that's my only witness, I'm not interested in fighting that legal battle with a student. I got better things to do. So yeah, how can we foster critical thinking with AI generated content? Okay, key takeaways. LLMs learn from the internet. Yikes, right? Guide it, right? Dialogue, feedback. It's your assistant. Have a conversation. No, I don't want that. Yes, I want this. Give it feedback, right? Prompting is the key, right? So have a conversation with it. These things make mistakes, and be aware of equity and ethical issues. Big shout out to the folks at McGraw-Hill who've been very supportive of me playing around with these things. The Access Engineering platform, if you're not familiar, vetted content, really great stuff. We're working on a bunch of cool things. The folks at McGraw-Hill are, and I get a peek into some of these every now and then. The case studies I'm super excited about. So we tried using some generative AI on those. The jury's still out. Hopefully we'll go back and play with that a bit more. So definitely reach out to the team at McGraw-Hill, ask questions about this incredible platform. Other than that, thank you. I tried to get done in 45 minutes. I think I'm close. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much for that great session, James. I learned a lot. That was incredible. Speaking of access engineering, I'm now going to introduce our Director of SciTech and Digital Products, Lauren Sapira, to organize some of the excellent questions and ask James some of the great questions we've been getting from the chat. So there's still time to put your questions. If you could put them into Q&A, that helps us keep track of them, but you can also put them in chat. But all right, so Lauren and James, take it away.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, everyone. There's some great questions coming in. I will say, per James's comment about copyright and those issues, it's generally not okay to take McGraw-Hill content and put it into ChatGPT, which then kind of gets it out there in the public world there. We are here playing around with a walled version, that keeps our content kind of out of that overall Wild West world. And we're trying to see what we can do with that internally as well. Okay, so James, first question was, I asked ChatGPT to do simultaneous equations. It did it with mistakes. Have you tried that?
Yeah, no, I haven't tried that. I'm not surprised. What I haven't explored yet is, are there some custom GPTs available that could really do math much better? On a podcast I listened to recently, I think Anthropic's Claude did better at math, but remember, it's not a calculator, right? It's a language model. So the fact that it can even do some math is pretty impressive. I think it's a huge gap, and right now it's a good opportunity to have a conversation with students. Because most of what we do in engineering at some point involves math. And if you can't trust it, then that's an issue. And the ability to go in and rigorously check work, your own work or someone else's work, is an incredibly important skill. So I emphasize that to students. But yeah, I'm not impressed with its mathematical ability so far.
Okay, next question. I'm interested in having students use AI to assist with their editing of technical writing. Are there recommended best practices for this?
Yeah, great question. I'm sure there are. And our writing center on campus, a year ago, they were ready to chase me out of town with pitchforks, because how dare I be emphasizing the use of these models. Over the summer, they did a deep dive into how can these tools be used to help improve writing, and the compare and contrast. You write something, you have it give feedback, and the students learn to write better. So they're going down that path with it. I'm not an expert in that area. There are plenty of folks out there digging into it. So that's certainly something that is of concern in writing. That said, every time I write a Gmail or hop in Word, Grammarly is popping up, or it's suggesting what the next word is. So it's everywhere. But that's a great question, and yeah, I'd love to know more about it if you find something out.
Okay. How do you assure proper citing of this material and avoid IP issues?
Yeah, the IP issue is huge. This is all being litigated, as we move forward. I mean, let's be completely transparent. I just leveraged Ken Bain. He got no cha-ching out of that. All right. I mean, this is a guy who runs an institute and writes books. And I'm not saying money is his motivation, but that's his livelihood. And well, okay, hey Ken, take a look at this. Now, could I have read his books and read his research papers and done that on my own? Maybe. Could I have done it in 30 seconds? No. So I struggle with some of the ethical considerations on this as an author, as a McGraw-Hill author. We're in uncharted territory here. So I struggle with it. But yeah, a lot of this is being litigated as we speak. So in a couple of years, I think it'll be sorted out.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at all of this internally as well.
Yeah.
Okay, regarding calling out an erroneous answer to a posed assignment question, could it be a good practice to always ask it to recalculate, check its work? When it made an error, it may catch it. When it did not, it will say all is fine. Or do you need to point out which detail it got wrong for that to work?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. So it always presents the answer as authoritative and confident, right? So I haven't seen it where it spits out an answer. It says, "Oh, hey, Jimmy boy, hold on. I think I made a mistake." Um, so I love your idea of saying, "Hey, could you just double check that?" Now, I did do at the if you were at ASEE in prep for that, I did do an example where I looked at a problem and I asked it, I said, "Hey, I want you to go back and do it again." And it did it wrong. And I think it did it wrong twice. And I didn't say, "Hey, you did the cubed root wrong." I said, "This answer is wrong." And it gave a different answer. And then finally I said, "The cubed root's wrong." Boom. And it gave the right answer. I think they're getting better at this, and I think all of us need to experiment with it and play with it and share what we're learning. But right now the good news is it makes mistakes, and that's a great warning to students that, hey, as professors, we know this makes mistakes, so don't copy and paste. And they check the work.
Yeah, that was one of the other questions was, this appears to be very dangerous. Why can't students use the same tool to answer questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can. And, there's two levels. The lower level is it's going to make mistakes. The pain in the neck part is we have to dig through and find those mistakes, right? Like we do with any grading. The higher level is, are there ways we can teach that really emphasize, the critical thinking skills, and at the same time, don't let the basic skills atrophy? This is the concern I have with these tools. If it's really good at this and I stop doing it regularly, my skill is going to atrophy. And it's important that I keep that skill. I mean, I took up golf 2 years ago. Don't ask me why at my age I took up golf, but I can tell you that up here in the Northeast, when November comes till, April, no one's outside golfing, and my skills atrophy. Well, skills is a loosely defined atrophy, right? So you've got to keep practicing those skills. So I'm trying to figure out the balance between me personally practicing the skill set I've developed and encouraging my students, don't rely on this to do everything for you. Develop these skills and practice them. Use it to check on your skills and give you a different perspective, you know? So I think over the next year or two, we need to have lots of workshops by different people on what they're learning with this. I can't wait to hear from you in a future workshop on, hey, yeah, we're doing this and it works better. Let's help each other.
Okay. Did you realize the differences between the paid version or the free version? If we design a question in the paid version, how good is the free version to solve it? Students
Well,
mostly use the free version.
yeah, so ChatGPT 4.0, I think, and help me out here. I do believe it is available for free, but they throttle it to some extent. And throw in the comments if you know different. Okay, from 3.5 to 4.0, huge differences, right? The legacy 3.5, not very good. From 4 to 4 Omni, it is much better. I think for a lot of the basic stuff I'm doing, it's not that different. Like the Ken Bain thing, I don't think it would be that much different. Yeah, good question.
Okay, and then the last question I see here, I'll go back over to the chat and look for a second. Can ChatGPT generate graphics, calculus symbols like integration, etc.?
Oh, I don't know, and frankly, I've like that graphic, the pie chart. I always go to Anthropic's Claude for that. I think it does a better job. It has the artifacts window. I haven't tried it in ChatGPT. It's a good question. I don't know. I should share a screen right now. Plot this function, see what it does.
Okay, somebody asks, is it possible to ask questions via voice?
Yeah, right. So here's ChatGPT. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. I'm gonna ask something. What should I ask? Oh, I know. I'll ask the question about.
We can't see your screen, but
So
you're not sharing right now.
Yep. I know. I'll hold the screen up, but you know what? And of course, I'm at home and everybody's on the internet. It ain't gonna work. Yes. So the app, you can talk to the app and it talks back. Yeah, it'll absolutely, and it'll also it gives you the script. So when I'm on my phone, I can, if I'm going for a walk around campus to clear my head, and I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, that that would be interesting. Like I have a question about that. I can open it up and just talk to it. Hey, what's the design code for, post-tension concrete or something like that, blah, blah, blah. And then when I come in, sit in my computer, that's there. And I can continue the inquiry. So.
Okay, so Madhu is saying that they wanted to ask you a question verbally. I misunderstood the question. Kaylin, are we able to unmute someone or not?
It's so funny because I had replied to Madhu and said that unfortunately, no, you can't ask questions via voice on this call. But then you guys answered the question about ChatGPT. Anyway, that was great. Good little who's on first scenario there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Madhu, we cannot hear your question over voice, but if you want to put it in the chat, you are more than welcome to. We had a question as well from Lorenz about copying. Did we get to that one? Something about, oh, maybe they put it in the chat. It won't let me copy. Should I ask ChatGPT if it can be done and how? We might need a little more clarification on that question, Lorenz.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
You can copy and paste, or you can ask it to put the output in a like an MS Word file or an Excel format or something. I mean, I I copy stuff out all the time. The formatting may not come through. If you just if you just sort of copy Control-C sort of thing, the formatting may not work.
But if you ask it to output in Word, the formatting is maintained.
So yeah, so like for everything I did with the course outline, yes. The engineering stuff, I didn't put it in Word. The screen grab was fine. There was no need to. So that's a great question. I think Claude, right? Anthropic has Claude, OpenAI has ChatGPT. I think Claude now has a LaTeX feature. Well, it will format it using LaTeX, which is, like high quality printing.
Okay. I don't think I see any other questions. I guess if anybody has it, I mean, we have about 1 minute left. So
yeah, I think we have time. If James or Lauren, if either of you have some closing thoughts, we have just a minute for that. I'll do a brief wrap up quick too, and just say thanks again to everyone who was able to come today. You will get a link to the recording, and I believe James is going to include for us the PowerPoint slides he used, so that we can share those out as well. But yeah, with that, if you have any questions too for following this webinar, I know some questions maybe didn't get asked, please feel free to send those to customer service at mheducation.com. We'll get them along to James, or we'll answer those. But yeah, with that, closing thoughts?
It's a powerful tool. You know the drill. It's not going away. All right. Follow the money. The big corporations are investing billions in AI. So it's best that we as educators figure out how we can use it and how we can help our students in a world that they're going to graduate into where AI is going to be everywhere.
Yeah, and I'll just add, as we said before, it's definitely something we're playing with, at McGraw-Hill in general, and for Access Engineering, being very cognizant of, anything we play around with creating in it, we're getting checked very carefully by subject matter experts, knowing the mistakes are common in terms of what you get from the models, and but we're excited to see what we can do and what we can maybe use it to improve upon the way we present materials for students, and the variety of content types and other things that we can do more quickly and inexpensively possibly, and it'll allow us to do a lot more for like Access Engineering than we could do with trying to do it all manually. So
Great.
we're excited as well.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. All right. I hope you're all encouraged to try out some Gen AI. Thank you.
Have fun. Yep. All right. Bye.